Hello. All right, so we are live, and so just want to say good evening to everyone who will join us this afternoon on our live. Welcome, welcome, welcome to everyone. And as I try to remind everyone that we are on this afternoon with no other than our own Dr. Pastor Vanessa Barrett. And so we have an important, interesting discussion that is coming up that I'm sure that everyone will learn something from, and I'm sure that you will enjoy it. So just let us know where you are joining us from. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm seeing two persons on already. So just let us know where you are joining us from, and I'm going to send out a reminder right now. And please remember to send it out to your friends as well, because I'm sure Pastor Barrett Dr. Barrett has a whole lot to share with you this afternoon. So you want to make sure that your friends are on. So please let us know where you are joining us from. Please put it in the chat. We want to know where you are joining us from this afternoon. I'm so excited to have you all on. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please let me know where you're joining from. And we are coming to you from Step by Step Consultancy. We are a recruiting agency where we recruit international teachers and place them in classrooms here in the United States. And I have good news for you that we also will be placing teachers in other countries. So God is good. And also we will be placing J1 teachers this school year. All right, so welcome, welcome. I want to see where you are joining us from. Please give us a thumbs up and let us know where you are joining us from. I'm happy to have you this afternoon. All right, great, great, great. All right, so without any further ado, we have with us this afternoon Dr. Pastor Principal Vanessa Barrett. Come on, make her feel welcome, everyone. Make her feel
For
welcome.
me. Thank
Come
you.
on,
Thank you.
give a thumbs up, clap your hands, and make her feel welcome. I am super, super excited to have her on with us this afternoon. And she is going to tell us about herself. She's going to tell us a little bit about herself. I'm going to ask you at this time, Dr. Vanessa, just to tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is
Thank you.
Dr. Barrett?
Thank you, Mrs. Simonet, for having me. I'm feeling very honored to be invited to speak this afternoon. And so I'm indeed grateful. And I just want to say hello to your viewers. And I hope that they will enjoy or be blessed by something that is said this afternoon. So, who is Dr. Vanessa Barrett? Well, I am a mom of three. I have three beautiful children. I am a wife to my husband, Maurice Barrett, of 20 years. I am a pastor. We are founding pastors of the Ultimate Empowerment Church. We are going to be celebrating our fifth anniversary this year, and I am a school principal of an alternative charter high school in Phoenix, Arizona. So that's a little about me. I don't know if you want any more details.
No, not yet, not yet. But I am one of those proud members of the Ultimate Empowerment Church, guys. And if you are here in the Phoenix area, please remember to join us at the Ultimate Empowerment Church. Pastor Vanessa, where is that church located here in Phoenix, Arizona?
We are located at 3331 West Catalina Drive in Phoenix, and our zip code is 85017. We're 35th Avenue and Thomas out here in Central Phoenix.
Okay, great, 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 great. So, Pastor Vanessa, What motivated you to become a teacher? I noticed that you did say that you're a principal now, and I'm
Mhm.
sure that you never started out as a principal. So,
No.
what motivated you to become a teacher?
Well, as far back as I can remember, the very first grade, when the teacher used to ask, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" my answer was always a teacher. I've had some exemplary teachers that have been very impactful in my life. And I don't know, but first grade, as I said, grade one, I always said I wanted to be a teacher. I guess because of the role models that I've had in
Mm-hmm.
teachers, and they were like my first set of role models, seeing them in front of the classroom and leading the students and so on. I admired that, and I always wanted to be a teacher. So throughout the years it changed. First I wanted to teach, primary school, and then when I
Mm-hmm.
went to high school and I fell in love with my home economics teacher, I decided I wanted to be a home economic teacher, and then it evolved. But as soon as I graduated from St. Catherine High School, one of my teachers whom we became very, very close, her name is Gillian Dallas Reed. She purchased my application for the Micro Teachers College, and she said, "You've always wanted to be a teacher, so I am going to give you a head start." And so that was when I applied to the Micro Teachers College. I did apply to another college, but I selected Micro as my choice, and I went and I started. And when I went, I had applied for like literacy and English or something of that sort, and they told me literacy was full, it wasn't available. But the lady said, "I see that you have ones in English. Seem you could be a good English teacher. Do you want to go that way?" And I said, "Fine, sure." I just wanted to teach, so I ended up majoring in double English, majoring in language and literature at the Micro University College.
Wow. Congratulations. That sounds good to me. But, it's only a pity, and we're not going to get into that because we know about the St. Joseph Teachers College as well. So,
The Michael.
come just give me a thumbs up if you tell me which college you went to, guys. And let us know where you went to school, right? All right. Thank you very much. Do you have any regrets in becoming an educator?
No regrets at all. As I said, it's as if I know I was born to become an educator, and very very young. I would teach the leaves and the trees, outside, and have my little whip and come on, what, pay attention, and get my little chalkboard and pretend to be a teacher. I have no regrets at all. When I was in high school and I was going to do my CXCs back in Jamaica, I remember one of my teachers, when I was selecting the options, I did the arts. My teacher said to me, "You're a smart girl. I don't think you should do the arts. You probably should do, the business subjects or the sciences and see if you can go into medicine." And I said, "No, I want to be a teacher." And he looked at me, and a matter of fact, I had two experiences with two different teachers, a male and a female. And the male looked at me and said, "Boy, with our salary, I'm not going to encourage you to go into it." But I've always said I'm going into it, and that's what I did, and I have no regrets. One of the things that I look back on now is when
Mhm.
I see some of my former high school mates who
Mhm.
they all did business and they did their sciences and they went to UA and did sixth form and all of those things. I see them come right back into the classroom and become
Wow.
teachers now. I remember one of my former classmates said to me, "Girl, you made the right choice from very early, because look at me now. After struggling out there in the world of work and couldn't find work, I ended up having to teach." And I said, "Wow, what a
Wow.
blessing to know that from the get go, I selected that career." I became an
Mhm.
educator at 19 years old, was when I graduated the Micro Teachers College and started
Wow.
as a teacher in the classroom. And my first set of students I taught were 11th graders. So I always joke and say, when I look back on some of the students that I taught, I'm just a few years older than them. 2 or 3
Can you
years. They have
imagine?
children. Yes, they have children older than my eldest daughter. So
Wow.
I'm happy. I have no regrets.
Wow. Okay, so you have been teaching about how many years now?
It's going on 20, where I'm in my 19th year of being an educator.
Wow, wow. All right. So when you look at teaching in Jamaica and your early years of teaching in Jamaica compared to now you are teaching or you taught here in the United States, do you have any comparison with both school system? What were your struggles like leaving Jamaica after teaching so many years there and then to come to the United States and teach? Do you have any struggles or any encouragement that you can give somebody, some of what you've been through as an educator?
It is very different. Class size in Jamaica, I have taught up to 45. Probably, I believe at one point I taught about 50 students
Mm-hmm,
because, I don't remember what had happened that year when we got almost 50 students in a
mm-hmm,
homeroom. So the
mm-hmm,
class size is different. Here, in the classrooms, they don't try to put more than 20 to 25 in a classroom.
mm-hmm,
So it is very different in terms of the resources that are also available. I remember back
mm-hmm,
in my day, guys, because I'm young and I find myself saying back in my days, but back in my days, it was chalk and blackboard, right? And then
mm-hmm,
we evolved to start using the marker on the whiteboard marker and all of that. However, I remember how difficult it was, and challenging at times to create lesson plans and to manage classroom with so many students.
mm-hmm,
One of the biggest things I took away though from the my early years of teaching, and I share this with my team members now, is that writing those lesson plans and being creative, coming up with those lessons, trying to keep 45 students attentive and being settled in a room. It was challenging, but it was very rewarding because when it comes down to writing a lesson plan now and how to navigate that, you can't beat me anywhere because
mm-hmm,
I learned that in Jamaica from the early days. One of the things that we learned at Michael as well was choosing your objectives, and one of them being from the
mm-hmm,
affective domain and thinking about the social emotional aspects for the students. And nowadays,
mm-hmm.
after COVID, that has become a huge thing. But back in the
Right.
day, we used to do that. They always
Mm-hmm,
tell you write an objective from the affective domain, thinking about how it may affect the student,
mm-hmm,
their behavior and attitude, and how it can, come alive to them. But now after COVID, everybody's talking about social emotional learning, and everybody's talking
mm-hmm,
like it is something new. But back in the day, we used to do that, and so I would say my experience in learning how to write lesson plans and having to navigate 45 students of learning of different learning styles and trying to differentiate in those classrooms were challenging, but it was rewarding. We didn't have as
mm-hmm,
many resources of what we have in American classroom because if you needed to use multimedia, you had to book the library to go over to the library and read your
mm-hmm,
entire class. But
mm-hmm,
here in the
mm-hmm,
United States, the vast difference is I have a whiteboard in my classroom, a smart board, I can play videos, I can navigate all of these resources to help my students, and I don't have more than 20 to 25 students in a classroom, right? And many times less. So those are some of the differences where class size and resources are concerned. I'm not gonna lie though, when I came to the United States, it was somewhat of a shocker for me. I did go through culture shock, even though I had traveled to the United States many times and I even
mm-hmm,
attended school. Being a
mm-hmm,
teacher, I went through the culture shock of the requirements of the
mm-hmm,
bookwork, the paperwork that you have to do to
mm-hmm,
follow up and all of that. It is still today a lot to do. um I don't feel as if I was the best where having what is the word I'm looking for, having routine. So
mm-hmm,
being a high school teacher, routine wasn't so much of a big thing to say. I have an agenda in my class. I just come with my lesson plan and I just run my thing. However, here in the United States, routine is absolutely important. You have to
Mhm.
make sure you know what you're going to do first, what comes second, and you have your agenda on the board, and the students know that this was going to happen, and so on. And so, learning routine when I came here kind of really helped me with classroom management and control. And so, some of those things I wasn't so big on when I was back home. However,
Mhm.
I was able to pull from different areas of what I learned there and what I brought here, and how I'm able to put it all together and become a dynamic educator. I do want to say, though, to anybody who decides to come to the United States or to launch out to go to another country to teach,
Mhm.
it takes a lot of bravery and faith to do that. And I applaud you, because some educators that I met when I came to the United States, if they were to go to another country, they would not manage, because they have had ease of access in the American classroom, and going into a place where there's no air conditioner, the way how the decks are joined and there are 45 students in a classroom, many of them couldn't manage. So I
Mhm.
applaud those of us who were able to leave our homes in Jamaica, what we were used to, and come to the United States or another country, learn their way, incorporate what we brought to the table, put it all together, and become dynamic educators.
Right. And you know what, Dr. Barrett, most of us have been very successful in
Yes,
the classroom, you know,
definitely.
really coming from our culture to really teach here. We have been very, very successful. So, again, congratulations to those of us and to you
Thank
who
you.
have navigated the system.
Yes.
And I'll get to that part about talking about success very soon. You made a decision to come here, leave your home country to come here and to teach. What was your motivation? What motivated you? What was driving you to come and leave your home country to come here and teach?
Well, if I can be absolutely honest, I
Mm-hmm.
had done 9 years in the Jamaican education system, and I felt I had paid my dues. I
Mm-hmm.
had gotten to the point where I did not have any links, I did not have any connections with anybody, and I knew I had something inside of me that meant that I needed to be further along. And so I
Mm-hmm.
started thinking about growth and upward mobility. I started thinking about how can I climb the ladder. And I did not have any links and I didn't have any connections, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I started just to look out, because I'm like, I would like another experience. And after 9 years, I feel like I've paid my dues. I wanted to make it 10 to see if I could get the pension, but I just was ready to go, because I felt I had outgrown the space in a way, and that was my motivation to look elsewhere to gain another experience so that I could be a well-rounded educator.
Good, good, good. All right. Congratulations to that. But I remember for me, I just wanted to earn some more money as well.
Of course,
And so
money is a part
because
of it.
of that, I was like,
The
I'm
money
not
too,
gonna wait for
definitely.
pension. I'm not going to wait for
Definitely.
pension. I am out of here. If I can go somewhere else and earn some more money. So I wanted to put it in the chat. If you're joining us from here in the United States or somewhere else teaching, could you please put it in the chat? What was your motivation? And what is it like now teaching here in the United States or elsewhere abroad? All right. So thank you so much for explaining that to us, Dr. Barrett. When you first, I'm not sure if you answered this question already to talk about the struggles that you had. I think you may have answered when you just got here into the classroom. What
Somewhat.
word? You did answer that question
Somewhat,
already.
but I can elaborate if you would
Please
like.
elaborate some more because we have some people who joining us or who will be watching, and I want them to know that yes, there are struggles, but they can overcome the struggles.
Yes, so I did experience, even though I was an English teacher, I experienced some language barriers where the accent is concerned. I remember going into the classroom and I used the word, I called a student's name and I think I said Isaiah. And he's like, my name is not no Isaiah, my name is Isaiah. And so remember, I had gone to school here in the United States, so my accent was better than everybody who came, and my United States accent was better than everybody that came, and I just, I froze. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to learn this. Here in Phoenix, we have a lot of Hispanics, and so the names were Hispanic names, and it was hard. One of the things I learned very early at Michael was how important it was to learn the names of your students, and so I was used to knowing the names of my students and learning them very quickly, and that was so challenging because I could not pronounce some of the names, the Estefania and all of those words, and I just couldn't call them, correctly. So that in and of itself was a little bit frustrating. I would, call and spell some words differently, and some of my students who were high school students would say, why is Miss saying persons? That's not grammatically correct. And she's an
Mm-hmm.
English teacher, and I'm like, persons is actually grammatically correct in British English. And so I use those as opportunities to share with them that there is American English and there's British English. Some of the
Mm-hmm.
words are pronounced differently, some of the words are spelled differently. So I kind of use those experiences, even though they were a little bit challenging to me at first to navigate. I use them as an opportunity to build relationships with my students. Um, I taught at a shift school when I was back in Jamaica. So my hours were, I believe, 7 to 12. So when I came to the United States, and believe it or not, the hours were 7:30 to 4 p.m. When I tell you my
Mm-hmm.
back hurt me and my feet, I was exhausted. The first few months, my husband says, "Why are you sleeping? You're just sleeping, 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 sleeping." And I says, "Because I am tired." I was exhausted by just standing up in that classroom all the time, being around, walking around the room all the time, constantly. One of the things I was not used to was having administrators walking in and out of my classroom the way they did when I
Ooh.
entered the United States classroom.
Ooh.
We were used to getting visits like
Mm.
once or twice per year, and they were
Mm-hmm.
scheduled visits. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, the principal would walk by and probably peek and see you in your classroom,
Mm-hmm.
but I was not used to every minute of the day having somebody walking through, the
Mm-hmm.
vice principal just coming through 12 o'clock, and then when you look, the principal coming through 3
Ooh.
o'clock, and they were just in and out of your classroom. And at first it made me uncomfortable, but I had to tell myself, girl, you know what you're doing. You are an experienced educator. Just continue teaching. And so that was a little bit challenging for me at first, but then I taught at a school where there were always there's surveillance in every room, there are cameras, and I kind of just got used to doing what was right. So I didn't have to worry about anybody catching me off guard. If the principal came and saw me sitting for a little bit, I knew I was standing already for 30, 40 minutes, and I was just taking a little break. So those are some of the things that were a little bit challenging when I came in the American classroom, but I was able to navigate them to the best of my ability.
Right, good, good, good. Now, I noticed somebody said new beginnings and new shift for my family and money. Well, good. And somebody else say, I'm hoping to have such experience soon. Guys, that's why I wanted to share this with your friends because we have a lot of teachers that will be coming in, comes for the new school year. And so you want to learn how you are going to navigate the system because of a fact. It is something that you need to learn. As Dr. Barrett spoke to, the fact of people coming into your classrooms on a regular basis. I experienced that and I was like, oh my God, again. And then one of the things, Dr. Barrett, I'm not sure if you had that experience. We Jamaican tend to fix our classroom like crazy. Pretty classroom. And so our classroom, my classroom usually be the showroom. So anybody who come, my room, they would come to the first. I'm like, oh my God, no, not again. Not again. They would
But
bring
can
people
I
in there.
share one of
Mm-hmm.
the things that caught me off guard? I was not a primary school teacher in Jamaica. I was a high school teacher. So being a high school teacher, you go from room to room. So we didn't really have a room that we could make look pretty. So I was not
Mm-hmm.
used to spending so much money on classroom. And so when I came here now, you have your room, and I noticed they gave you a day and time when you can come and fix your room and dress it up. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, what's going on here? Like, where are we going to get the stuff from? Like, am I supposed to submit a list of items that I need? And a teacher said to me, no, I spend at least $2,000 per year on my classroom. And I was like, what?
Oh,
Where am I going to get
okay.
$2,000 from? So
Happy
then
for
I had to
her.
get into the habit of understanding that it was your responsibility to make your classroom look good,
Yeah,
and you needed to dip in that money in your pocket
I
and
know.
be able to do that. So,
Yeah, I spent some money, but what I did, because I did elementary for quite some time, then went into high school, just spent about 2 years there. But when you're teaching in elementary school, you better go to Walmart, baby, and buy those little
yes.
snacks and suckers and things like that to help to keep them quiet. So that's something
Hmm.
that I need to put it out there so that you learn this little part of it too, to treat those children. So in doing so, though, Dr. Barrett, and you have navigated the system well, and I might as well say that you have been successful at it as well. And now you are a principal.
Correct.
So, so is it that you're saying, you know what, I have done enough of classroom. Let me step to the next level. Tell us about that.
Well, as I shared earlier, when I was back in Jamaica after 9 years, I just kind of started feeling bored. Started feeling as if I had paid my dues. I remember being in the classroom here in the United States and starting to feel the same feeling. I felt like I had learned how to navigate teaching, and it was just time for me to go to the next level. And so I started looking into, I had to wait because, many of us who come, we don't have certain paperwork that we can move from school to school and do all of that. And so I was humble enough to wait my turn. And as the opportunity came, I was able to switch into administration. One of the good things about my story is that God was so good to me that I never got an assistant principal role or a coaching role. I left from being an actual teacher in a classroom to an actual principal. And that just took faith and favor. And I thank God for, choosing me for that, and just giving me the ability to look or to be able to take those steps. After I had taught for, I believe it was about 16 years, I just felt to myself, I have the skill sets and what is needed.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, Holy Spirit said to me, start applying for assistant principal jobs. And I applied for an assistant principal job, and I got an interview. Whoa, that kind of built my faith a little more. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, if I got an interview for this, you know what? I'm going to start applying for some other roles. Started applying for some coaching positions, and then I applied for a dean of discipline. I interviewed, I got the assistant principal job. They made me an offer. I got the dean of discipline job at ASU Prep. Um, and I looked at it and I was like, if I can get one of these
Mm-hmm.
jobs, and they all told me how excellent I did in the interviews. I remember one of the assistant principal jobs, they didn't even allow me to leave the compound before making me the offer. Immediately as I
Wow.
left the room, I saw someone
Mm.
chasing my car. Mrs. Barrett at the
Mm.
time, we want to make you an offer. We want you to come back in the room. So I was like, if they're so impressed, guess what? I know I can do that principalship. And the Holy Spirit said to me, apply. And so
Mm.
I started applying for principal positions. And lo and behold, I got interviews, and I got my first offer. I was elated. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. But I knew I had the skill set because I'd already been a leader somewhat when I was in Jamaica. I ran the e-learning program for Inwood High School for, I believe it was about a year and a half, and I
Mm-hmm.
was able to show where our students made drastic growth, at least up to
Growth.
2 grade levels in literacy. And so I had managed 10 teachers, and I believe it was about 150 students. And so I knew I had the leadership skills. But one of the things also that gave me the confidence was that I had always served in ministry as a leader, and my husband and I had started the ministry. And so that was one of the things I put on my resume, that we founded a ministry, we are pastors, and we have leadership experience in that area. And that is what I used to go to the next step. And I was able to secure my first principal job. And after that, I am now in my second position, where I am now able to help teachers after, I believe 16, 17 years of being in the
Mm-hmm.
classroom. I believe that now I can say I'm an expert
That's
and
it.
I can help somebody else now.
Wow, wow, wow. Come on, let me see the thumbs up and the round of applause going up for our own Jamaican who came here, navigated the system, and is now a principal. Now, I know you did made mention about being a leader before, so you are now a prince. You came as a teacher,
Mhm.
then became a principal, and well, being a pastor before a principal. So
Correct.
share with us a little bit before we move on. I'm seeing a question. So does the principal interrupt your class when he gets into your class while teaching? If so, could you share with us what such interruption could be?
Well, they don't come to interrupt. The aim is to
Mhm.
observe. So it is on you to make sure you continue teaching and keeping your students engaged. Even now, when I go to my classrooms, I am very stealthy. I just take my time, open the door. I just want to see that they are engaged. Sometimes they are observing to see what the students are doing. Sometimes it's just for 5 minutes. Sometimes it's just for 10 minutes to sit, to watch, to see what part you are in your lesson. And sometimes they may give you a little feedback here or there. But the aim is not to interrupt just because they come in so often. We have to get
Mhm.
used to an administrator passing through. So the aim is never to disrupt the class. The aim is to kind of just observe to make sure that the teacher is on track, because often one evaluation can't tell how well a teacher is doing. It's when you see
Mhm.
them in different aspects and parts of the lesson, and throughout different days and weeks, you will know what help they will need.
Right, correct. That is correct. They never usually
Mm-mm.
come in and disrupt the lesson at all. They just come, look in, probably look at a child's work or something, and then they move out. Thank you so much, Dr. Barrett. And you did mention about being a leader, and I know you are pastoring as well. So tell us about that. How, why? What caused you to the teacher? Principal, pastor in a church. How do you navigate that?
Well, I can tell you that I have been involved in church and ministry for many, many years. Back in Jamaica, I served as secretary of my church. I served in the youth department. I taught Sunday school. We were a set of young people that came up. That every meeting that was held, every time the church was being cleaned, we were there and things like those. And so I was very, very involved in church. When I came to the United States, I wanted to find a church community that I could be a part of, because it's so important to find fellowship. And so my husband and I tried for the first year, by visiting different ministries, seeing which ones kind of fit, because we knew it was important to find community, because we knew
Mhm.
we're gonna live here now. We didn't just come with the intention to visit, and even if it was just the visit for the 3 to 5 years, because I knew we were gonna live. But even if it was just for visiting, we wanted to find community, and so we took time, we found a ministry, and we were in that ministry working and serving, and they were impressed indeed. Our apostle was indeed impressed of the contribution that both of us were able to make, and how we were able to help the ministry. And while we were there, being a part of that, I remember once he prophesied to us that he saw that we would be pastors. I had never in my wildest dream ever asked, wanted to be, prayed to be a pastor, because I just felt that that was a heavy
Mhm.
responsibility and I never wanted that. But my husband used to preach a lot when we were back home, and I always felt like one day he's either going to be a good preacher or he's going to be a pastor, and I'm going to be his wife, and
Mhm.
that's it. But then when the pastor prophesied, after that, I I really started, through the guidance of our bishop, started to realize that I had a call on my life for
Mm-hmm.
ministry. And we were able to launch out right in the middle of COVID 2021, January. So
Mm-hmm.
COVID was 2020, and in 2020, that's when we went through the process to form the church, form the board, got it registered, did all the paperwork. June that year, and we took time to plan the ministry. And in
Mm-hmm.
January of 2021, we launched. We were able to form a community here in Phoenix. I will not take all of the credit. However, I have parts to do with forming this community. Here, the Lord would have had me to do like my women monthly get-togethers. We
Mm-hmm.
used to go out to restaurants. We used to go hiking once per month. We do the activity here or there, and from that, those women started to form relationships, and we started coming together. And they had families. And just out of the blues, when COVID started and we were just home, we had before that we just decided we were going to start house to house Bible studies, and we used to go to different people's homes and we have the Bible study. And when COVID started, we couldn't visit each other's houses anymore, so we decided we were going to do Zoom. Somebody said, "How about we do Zoom?" And we said, "Yeah, let's do Zoom." And we started the Zoom. People from Jamaica would come on, different people from all over, and it started growing. And we're like, "Wow!" And that's when ultimately we realized that it's time. I heard we would hear the Holy Spirit clearly saying it's time to launch. And I
Right.
was very scared because I was like, God, you brought us in the middle of the desert, because Phoenix and Arizona is literally a desert. You brought us
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of the desert, and now in the middle of COVID, you are going to tell us to start a church. And at this point, I was still going through my paperwork phases. I was on the H-1B visa, and the school was trying to sponsor my green card. And I went through some things where at one point they told me they were going to deny my H visa. And I was like, God, you're telling me one thing, but the USCIS is telling me another thing. But I'm going to trust you, God, because I know that you have the whole world in your hand. And so we launched the ministry, even with the doubt of not knowing which direction we're going to go in. We said, even if it's for a time, we're going to be obedient to the Lord Jesus. And I would say, probably, I think it was 2 years in to the ministry, we got our green cards and everything. And we started out with a small group of people, and we were able to grow and expand. I think we can safely say we have over 100 members who visit throughout the month. They don't all come at once, but if we were to put together the group of people that we have that said this is their church, and when they go to church, they come there, we have exceeded 100. So it is not easy to do both things, but I do serve alongside my husband, who is my support system, and we have an extraordinary team at church who helps us. But I will never tell anybody that this is easy, because it is indeed. I always say I have 4 full-time jobs, because being a pastor, being a principal, being a mom, and being a wife, those are all jobs in and of themselves. But the grace of God has been keeping me.
Amen. Listen, guys, I love to interview our Jamaicans because it is telling us that you can leave Jamaica, you can come here, and you can be successful. We are all about speaking success, but we want to show you as well that there are times when things may get very rough. But you must always keep your head above the water because, and especially if you trust God, He is going to see you through. So once you trust God, He is going to make sure that you are successful. I noticed that you did mention about your green card process. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about that? Maybe not a whole lot of details, but because there might be some people who are here saying, when I come, how can I go about staying if I don't want to go back home?
Well, we have to be very, very clear. that whenever we're going through the process, that our intent is never to stay. So you never want
Right.
to ever mention that.
Right.
However,
Right.
when
It's
you are
not.
here and you establish a relationship with a school, maybe you're there for a few years, and if they like you can proceed to, ask if they are interested in sponsorship, because there are lots of school districts that will sponsor. So God, again, I have to give God the praise that He was good to me. That when I came, I first taught elementary, and after doing it for the first year, I would say that it was like the worst year of my life, because I never taught elementary before, and I came up teaching fifth grade, even though it was just English that I was teaching them. So it didn't feel like primary school where you taught everything, but the students were younger and it was not what I was familiar with. And so the Lord would have had me to move to a high school that was similar to the one that I left Jamaica. When I left Jamaica, I was teaching at a non-traditional high school with students who had reading issues, and they were not, the best of the best. These were the ones who weren't so successful in the GSAT and those tests and so on. And so those are the students we had, and we were teaching them reading and so on. So I was familiar with teaching these type of students, and so that was the area I sought to go into. And after being at the school, after leaving that school in my first year to leave for my second year, I remember being successful applying to two schools, and they both, after, this is what you have to use wisdom. After they made me the offer, I went back in and I asked to speak with them, and I explained my visa situation, and I said, I would love to stay. I would like to know if I wanted to stay, if this is something you would be interested in helping me with. And both of them said yes, they would definitely sponsor, but one was paying me more, and one was a district school and one was an independent charter school. So I used wisdom and I said, if it's an independent charter, only one person needs to make that decision. If it's a district school, you have to go through the superintendent, you have to go through the HR, you have to go for
Bored.
a lot of things. And I said, you know what? I'm going to the independent one. And while I was at that school, I went in with the intent that I wanted to stay. They knew I wanted to stay. They had promised me, and they fulfilled their word.
Wow.
After a few years, we started the process, and they helped me and sponsored my green card and, in turn, my husband's.
Wow, great. Thank you so much. And might I say, I need to make it very clear that step by step consultancy, we are moving into doing the J1 teachers come this school year, but at no time we are able to say to you or to do any waiver. We cannot encourage, we will not encourage anyone to stay beyond your years. So you would get, I think, 3 years first or 2 years first, one out of the two, and then you'll get the extension. I think it's 3 years and then 2 years extension. So after the 2 years, you must go back home to your home country. So we are going to be recruiting teachers from the Philippines, from India, Jamaica, and the African countries. And so we want to make sure that you know this, that after your time is up, you must go back home. Step by step consultancy cannot, will not encourage anyone to stay beyond the time. I think you are to go back home for 2 years. So, and 2 years go by so quickly these days. Boy, I'm telling you, as Jamaican, we would say by your quint, it's 2 years. So just spend your time, work hard, and then you know you'll have to go back home. Please to put your questions in the chat if you have any, and Dr. Barrett will answer. She will respond to those questions. Dr. Barrett, you're a pastor. I'm saying Dr. Barrett because you have your doctorate degree. You're a wife, a mother, a principal. When did you find time to do your doctorate degree? Tell us about
Well,
that.
so I started my doctorate in November of 2020. Again, that was COVID was happening during that time. I had completed my master's in February of 2020, went on a big trip, enjoyed myself. They called me and they said they would like to offer me to start a scholarship to start my doctoral program, and that they would exempt some of the credits because if I choose a certain path, I would have had some of the credits from my master's, so it would have been easier to just continue along that same path for the doctorate, and they were going to give me a scholarship. So I was excited because it's something I always wanted to do. Ever since I was younger, I always said I want to be a university professor. I'm going to be a doctor. And when this opportunity came, I took it up. So I started in 2020, but with all of these things happening, with the church, with family, job, different situations, it took me 5 years. It usually takes people somewhere about 4 to 5 years, but it took me the latter end of the 5 years because of all different challenges that I encountered along the way. There were times when I had to take breaks. I had a baby during the process. I had health issues, surgeries, illnesses that I had to deal with. A lot of different challenges came my way. I just took a break when I needed to, but there were times when I had to push through and I was very overwhelmed. And I did get support from my husband, who helped me, by keeping the children and doing what I was supposed to do. And I would just try to work extra at night or whenever I was on my break. One of the things I practiced when I was in Jamaica was I try not to bring work home. So I did whenever I get my prep, I really use my prep to do prep. That's when I would write my lesson plans so that I don't have to bring anything at home. So if I'm at home now, that's when I use that time at night sometimes to do the work for the doctoral program. Or if I was at work on my prep and I could squeeze it in, I would try. But it took many hours of sacrifices, blood, sweat, and tears. But it also took me having wisdom to know when enough was enough, when I needed to pause, when I needed a break, when I needed to ask for help, and things like those. I don't know how I did it. I just know that God brought me through, and with the help of, my husband and family and friends, I made it. And I'm Dr. Barrett today. So,
Wow, wow. Congratulations again. I took the opportunity to congratulate her because when I listened to her story, guys, of the struggles, but she is victorious. And that's the part that I love is when you may have struggles, and you are going to have struggles when you come here to teach. As I've said before, it's a total different system because even back home in your home country, I know I've worked with a lot of Philippines, and they would say, they could do some things where the children are concerned. When you get here, you know that you have to be very, very careful. So it
mhm,
is totally different from back home. Even the way you speak to the children, you have to be careful of what you say, how you say it, because if they misinterpret something that you are saying, then it can go another way. So you want to make sure that you learn from us. Go to my YouTube channel, guy, and watch some of the videos that I have out there talking about how you can navigate the system here to be successful in the United States as an educator. Nobody have any question for Dr. Barrett before we end our chat here this evening, this afternoon? Nobody? All right. So let me ask you another question, Dr. Barrett. For some young teachers that are planning to come, when I say young teachers, I should not use the word young, but teachers who are planning to come to teach here for this school year in the United States, what words of encouragement or what do you have to say to them? What is it that they need to look out for?
So even though I coach some international teachers who come, I will when they arrive, I will give them hints and say, hey, try this, do that, do that. So the things I tell them is I say, be confident that you are a trained, experienced educator and you didn't just come from somewhere not knowing what you're about. What I find with educators, and I can speak for Jamaica because I'm Jamaican, is that Jamaican teachers were trained to actually teach. Our degrees are in. education, which means we have to do courses and classes where we
Mm-hmm.
actually learn about methodology and we learn about the child development and how to actually teach them. Here in the United States, while some of the programs are similar, I do believe that the programs are very different than the rigorous ones that we would go through back home. So I tell people who come, I say, be confident that you are experienced, be confident that you learned how to teach and that you are an educator and you know what you're about. Because the American classroom can make you feel as if you don't know anything because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they may use different terminologies.
Mm-hmm.
You may, and it is true that we sometimes don't use the terminologies as we should. And I'm only speaking for myself. When I was a younger teacher, I didn't use some of the jargons and so on. But when you come here, you find everybody using the jargons and the terminologies. And it's like, oh my God, they're so smart. They know what they're doing. Oh my God. But the truth is, not because somebody can use the jargons and the terminology doesn't mean that they can really do perform in the classroom, right? And so I tell them, go in there with confidence, knowing that you learned how to teach and you know how to teach. Also, be open minded that you are coming to a different place with a different culture that may do things totally different from what you are used to back home. You may have been socialized a certain way, and in coming here now, as you said earlier, Mrs. Simonet, that we will now have to buy candy to rub their backs and said, "Come on, little Johnny, let's do your work." Back when we were back home, like, boy, you do your work. Come, come,
Mm-hmm.
and and stop it. Get it together
Different.
here. You got to give them a little. So, do you want? If you do this, I will give you a candy. Okay. So you have to also be open-minded that it is not going to be the same like what you experienced back home, and some of who are not successful when they come are the ones who are not open-minded and they cannot take telling. They feel as if this is how I used to do it and this is how I'm going to do it, and
Mm-hmm.
they get
Mm-hmm.
themselves in
Mm-hmm.
trouble. I have seen people be sent back home or get in trouble for touching people's children here, holding them by the arm. Not even
Mm-hmm.
that you're allowed to do, right? You cannot hold them, you cannot grab them, you cannot even speak harshly and use certain words. A matter of fact, when I came to the United States, that's when I found out that certain words were bad words that we
Mm-hmm.
didn't even consider bad words back
True.
home. So even HELL,
Mm-hmm.
I learned that when someone complained, another teacher, the teacher said something about hell, and they were like, "She cursed." I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"What?" I didn't even know that they considered that cuss. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to be careful of your language, the type of words that you use. You have to be open-minded that this is not going to look exactly like what it used to look back home. You may now have to walk the children to recess. Back in Jamaica, we just ring the bell and everybody run and go play.
Come
No,
on now.
you have to walk them to recess. You got to monitor them at recess. It is
Mm-hmm.
totally different. So be open minded that somebody, your team lead or a coach who is coming, may be telling you to shift and adjust this. Don't be stuck in your way and say, "This is how I learned it, this is how I know it," right? Be open minded that they're teaching you their way, right? And if you have wisdom, you will understand that anywhere you go to, you go into a new place, you learn the culture of that place. You go in, you learn how they do things, and after that, now you use wisdom to do it similar because
Mm-hmm.
that is what they are looking for. Even if you knew it one way, they are looking for it a particular way. They are the ones evaluating you, and if they say you must include so and so, try to include it because they're the ones evaluating you. Why would you want to do otherwise to try to prove a point? So I always tell them, be confident, but I say be open-minded. I also say watch videos, look at different videos, research, be prepared, be equipped, knowing that things may look a little bit different, and if you're learning something for the first time that you didn't know about, be open-minded that you can go and research it, but also ask for help. There's always somebody who's willing to help, and don't act like you're smart and know it all. Ask for help. I consider myself a lifelong learner, and
Yeah.
anywhere I go, I want to learn. Show me, tell me, because guess what? You see, when I learn it, I'm going to be better than the person who created it, because at the end of the day, you have to be willing to learn. And so it's going to take a lot of learning and adjusting on the fly. Sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
have to adjust right on the fly, and you're gonna have to learn how to do things. If you're not technologically advanced, I don't think we will have that issue nowadays, because most people are technologically advanced. But that's very, very important. If you're an
Mm-hmm.
older teacher who is not so used to the technology, you're gonna need to navigate that, because every classroom have a smart board or something that you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
need to learn how to use. Take notes, keep a little journal, write stuff down, be attentive, make sure you are on time. If you need to miss days, it's not like some of us in Jamaica take 1 week and go on a foreign. You can't do those
Uh-uh.
things when you come to American classroom, right? So make sure that when I taught at my the schools I was at for the very first year, I wasn't absent unless I was extremely sick and couldn't go to
Mm-hmm.
work. I tried not to miss days. Even though when I was settled in the school and I was there for 2, 3 years, I started taking my 1 day mental health breaks, 1 day here and there, because now I'm settled, they know me, they know what I'm about. But for the first year, you shouldn't be absent. You shouldn't.
Mm-mm.
There's no need for it to be absent two, three, four, five, not even two, but five, six, seven, 8 times. So things
Mm-hmm.
like those, I said, work on your attendance. Make sure that they see that you have good attendance. You come to school on time. You submit things on time. Nothing speaks unprofessional than a teacher that you have to remind to send something all the time. Hey, you didn't submit your lesson plan. Hey, remember to send this. No administrator wants to remind you all the time. Make sure you write down your things. You put things in your calendar, and you stick to your deadlines, and you do what you're supposed to do. And let me tell you a little hint: share some of what you're doing in your classroom sometimes. I learned that the hard way, because I'm not somebody who will go about and brag and boast about what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I always realize my counterparts, my other colleagues would come up and just start sharing what they're doing in their classroom. Oh, I had my students do this morning, do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because what administrator didn't visit on that day, so they make sure that they are spreading it and they're telling everybody. Learn to share some of what you're doing too, because not all the time they're going to see those excellent projects that you put out all the time, but
Mm-hmm.
also display. Learn how to display things. If they didn't catch it, they're going to see it on the wall, right? So you got to use wisdom, and you got to be creative. You got to be open minded. That's what I have for
Wow,
you
thank you
guys.
so much. That's more than a mouthful. Thank you so much, Dr. Barrett. And guys, I want you to know that for my teachers who are on, and I will post it as well as soon as I have that conversation with Dr. Barrett. I'm certainly going to invite her to come and have a meeting with my teachers. And this is the first time she's hearing it, because
Sure.
while I'm listening to her, it's just popping in my head. So you can prepare for that for the coming year, teachers, that she'll be coming to speak with you via Zoom. So we just want to say thank you so much, Dr. Barrett. And I just want to remind my viewers that comes, I think it's about the 31st of January, and we will be in Jamaica doing our recruitment for J1 teachers. This time around, it is for J1 teachers. We will be recruiting for J1 teachers. So if you're a math teacher, English teacher, Spanish teacher, we will be in Jamaica, elementary teacher as well, but subject based. We need a lot more subject based teachers. We also need elementary school teachers. So it's about the 31st of January. We will be in Jamaica on our recruitment drive for the J1 teachers. All right, guys. Thank you so much for logging on. And again, I want to see you put a thank you in the chat for Dr. Barrett. We are so happy to have her on. At this time, we just have 1 minute to go. Do you have any last word that you want to say to us, Dr. Barrett?
I just want to tell you thank you for having me and considering me. And if there's anybody who's interested in connecting, you may connect with me on social media. My name is Vanessa Barrett, as it is spelled here. And also, I have a website, www.vanessabarrett.com. I do coach international teachers and help them with transitioning because it can be a difficult task. But otherwise, if
Mhm.
you are in the Phoenix area, come check us out at church. God bless you, and thank you so much for having me.
Right. Thank you so much, guys. And you do reach out to her. And if you need contact, you can also reach out to me and I will connect you with her. God bless you guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we will talk again. See you soon. And if we don't talk again, have yourself a Merry
Merry
Christmas
Christmas.
and a happy New Year. God bless you. Thank you. Right. So. All right, so I think that,
It still says live.
oh, oh, I'm not sure why. Okay, all right.